Alright everyone, welcome back to the You Like That podcast. My name is Adam, I am one half of the You Like That podcast. As you can see, I am solo writing for this one. I did mention in my last news episode that I would have my sisters on as guests for this one. Unfortunately couldn't get that to work, so had to write this one out solo. Jack is just on a bit of a personal break, I guess, at the moment for the week. Just getting back to himself, try to reclaim some happiness, and just want to go leave him some love. Go leave him some love. He would really appreciate some love. So anyway, you're getting just me today. The show must go on because you all need to know about the wonderful movie that I was able to experience, and that movie was Peninsula. So if you've seen the movie Train to Busan, this is the next installment of the franchise. I don't want to call it a sequel because it's not technically a sequel. This movie takes four years after the events of Train to Busan, and has no recurring characters, so it's just in the same universe, but it's no continuation from any pre-existing story. So yeah, let's just straight away just get into how fucked up it was to see this movie. If you live in the Illawarra, or in the south coast of New South Wales for that matter, there's been some fucking high winds this week. And get to the cinema, yeah, it was a blackout. Servers have all gone down, the projectors and all that are fucking up, trying to get everything back on screen. And yeah, we missed about the first 3 minutes of the movie. Not too bad, because there were flashbacks at the film later on that sort of showed us what we missed. And it wasn't too much, so it wasn't too much of a drag, but fuck, I was just like, don't even tell me. Because this is an international film, it doesn't have as many showings in the cinema, and I believe this would have been one of the last dates to see this movie. So, very lucky that we're still able to get in there and see this movie. Oh, good. Excuse me. So yes, Peninsula is the latest installment into this franchise. Again, if you've seen my review on Train to Busan, if you haven't, please go back and watch it. That's a fucking brilliant movie. So, Peninsula, directed, same director as Train to Busan. I'm going to try and say his name, but it's a Korean name, so Yeon Sang-ho. I think is how you say it. I apologize to anyone if I've said that incorrectly. Let me give it a shot. Same director as the original Train to Busan film. This is going to be a no spoiler section of this review, so feel free to keep listening. I'm just going to give you some honest feedback to begin with. I'll get into some spoilers later. So, initially this movie has a budget of $16 million, currently raked in $48 million in the box office so far, which during the pandemic for an international film that's about zombies, pretty fucking decent if you ask me. Bigger release in South Korea, obviously. It's a Korean film, so in the homeland they're going to show it more. A lot of people are going to go see it. So big draws over there for them. Some international releases. Australia, obviously, we don't care about much, so we'll just take all the movies, give them out. And a couple other places worldwide. 2 hour long movie, standard running length, as most movies are these days. Definitely didn't feel like it, but then again, I missed 3 minutes of the intro, so it seemed like I missed half the movie already. But we progress on. So, the main premise of this movie, just to sort of get you onto speed of what this is, so Peninsula is set 4 years after the event of Train to Busan, where a deadly virus had broken out in South Korea, and turning people into just flat out zombies. It's a straight up zombie movie. 4 years after the event, South Korea has been deemed, they deem it now the Peninsula. It is a dead zone, it is a no-go zone. Korea is now basically dead to the world. Apparently this virus hasn't spread out anywhere else. People know about what has happened over there, they know of the threat and what lurks on that island. And it's just a complete shut-off zone for the world now. now it's blending in a bit of a more Americans into this movie, and the sort of driving premise of them going to this island is to going back to Korea, sorry, is to locate and retrieve $20 million in US money that has been left on a truck there. If there's one thing I say about this movie is I don't understand that plot point to the whole movie because it really doesn't make any sense, but we'll go with it. They're going back to retrieve this truck that is full of money and bring it back, and they will get a lovely portion of the money. So we get our main star. I'm sorry I didn't take down his name. I don't want to get too culturally insensitive and fuck up too many of these names. But our main gentleman in this film is the leader in taking this small group to go retrieve this money from South Korea in a zombie-infested world. And everything builds. People are found. There are survivors living in South Korea still. People that couldn't get out when they were rescued off the island. Originally from this outbreak, refugees out to Hong Kong, US, wherever. People still live there. You have the standard apocalyptic Mad Maxi feeling type groups. You have lone survivors, people that are just dead shits that just are fucking living there and having the time of their life. And the story progresses. It's very zombie filled. Not as much as the first one, obviously. There's more storytelling to this movie than there was in Train to Busan. X, Y, and Z happen. We get an ending. Emotion happens again. And personally, I really, really fucking like this movie. Now, this movie has not been received too well by critics. It's currently sitting only about 54% on the Rotten Tomatoes score. That's a critic score. Audience is about 73, but obviously no one cares about what the real people think. It's all about critics, isn't it? Fuck the critics. 54% is way too fucking low for this. As it is with international films, and I'll always plead this case, is that I feel like if you're not into international films, you instantly lose so much respect for the film because you're either a simpleton that can't comprehend that people that aren't, English speaking or of white descent are not good filmmakers or can't act or can't release a really fucking good movie, and that's fucking bullshit. These two movies are fucking living proof of that. Train to Busan is sitting at 94% on a critic score on Rotten Tomatoes. And that's a zombie movie on a fucking train. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense how the score goes from this to this. I know I'm seeing a lot of things of people saying that this movie isn't what Train to Busan was, and it's because it's not. This movie isn't supposed to be Train to Busan. This whole movie is something completely different. It's just following on the events of South Korea's downfall in a zombie apocalypse that hasn't hit worldwide yet. So I think it's just bullshit the way some people critique movies. I'm very biased, I love international films and I'll always give them a high rating. Goes against what I said of people that don't like them will give it a lower rating. But when you go into these international movies, you sort of have to know what you're going to get, and you're not going to get some high Hollywood budget movie that's going to look pristine and clean and absolutely the clarity is brilliant and you're like, oh wow, that looks so real. You're not going to get that in this. Hollywood isn't sitting here pumping $200 million into a movie. These people, a lot of them are so independent, and even getting a decent budget, like getting a $16 million budget to these people is probably like getting a $150 million budget. And they fucking killed it with what they got. They worked with what they had. They had, for the CGI that they had to use for like the car chase scenes, because the zombies were all very practical, and I will say this, the zombies that have been made in Train to Busan and Peninsula are the best looking zombies in any fucking zombie movie in the world. Hands down, the best acted zombies, the best looking, because there's no bullshit, face falling apart and fucking all this other shit. No, they're full on like screaming and writhing around and absolutely twisting and tormenting their body. That there's something fucking wrong in them that's turning them into these fucking bloodthirsty creatures of fucking death. Jeez. They fucking kill it, man. So, you get massive props already for having physical looking zombies that aren't bullshit and CGI. You get a wonderful, desolate looking, rundown, city areas of South Korea. And it's very dark and gritty. There's not a lot of daylight in this movie. A majority of it is set through the night. And the only off thing you get is the car chases. The car chases are what is the big budget for CGI. And even for that, it still looked fucking good. Like, you can't sit there and go, oh, it looks so fucking bad. Can't even get a car right. You're a fucking idiot if that's how you fucking think about shit, bro. Think of these movies as what you're getting. If you look into these movies and you know on a sort of basis that of what you're gonna get, just fucking have a good time. This is a zombie movie that is backed by the best zombie movie of all time, in my fucking opinion. Train to Busan is the greatest zombie movie of all time. There's no doubt about it. And this is up there within probably the top 5 for me, hands down. It is a brilliant zombie movie that still has heart by the end of it, and a lot of action, a lot of great acting, and beautiful looking scenes. Honestly, there's nothing more to fucking say about how good this movie it is. Now, there's definitely things that are wrong with this movie, as is most movies. The plot devices in this movie, some of them don't make sense. Like I mentioned earlier, the going back to retrieve American dollars, $20 million in the back of a truck, just seems weird. The other thing is they incorporate some more English-speaking language throughout the start of this movie, and it seems like it's something that even the actors themselves weren't comfortable with doing, and I don't know why. Like, I mean, it's obvious that there's no, big Hollywood agencies and that are putting their foot in this to sort of say, hey, you need to put a bit of, English speaking in this. The director is South Korean. Majority of the producers are all South Korean and all that. It's all very South Korean based. They introduced some American characters in the movie, and I guess that's their reasoning for trying to put some more English speaking throughout. But at some points, it's the native South Koreans talking to other South Koreans, but they're still speaking English. And that's when it's sort of like, you don't really need to be doing that. Because obviously the whole movie is subtitled, and 95% of it is in Korean. So it's just those little weird nitpicks of that sort of threw me off, because obviously they're not massively fluent in English, these actors that spoke it, and tried their hardest to speak the dialogue that they were asked to speak. It was cute in a way, and for some of it worked, but then other parts was just like, no, we don't really need it. Maybe because it's the draw of it became such a cult classic around the world. Wanted to try and throw that in there to try and ease it in for some people that are stupid and can't tolerate foreign movies, the simpletons of the world. So this movie for me had so much heart. I saw so many reviews of people saying that this had no emotion or any heart that Train to Busan had. Now, Train to Busan was very sad by the end of this movie. So was this. I don't know if they were watching the same movie or if they clicked with any of these characters. It had the same fucking emotion. It had sacrifice. It had loss. It had, a sense of this is the end for some, but then things turn around, and it's brilliant. It's hard. It made me want to fucking cry again. Train to Busan made me cry. This wanted to make me cry too. That fucking screams it. There's emotion in this movie. It's unparamount that there is something that they drive within these characters throughout the movie as you're watching it to make you care about these characters. And there's a lot of reviews out there that would tell you don't care about these characters at all. None of them give you any sense of wanting to feel for them or know them or anything like that. And that's bullshit. There's fucking heaps. From the start of the movie, there's fucking heaps of wanting to connect with characters and feeling for the situation that they're in and all that. It's in there. I fucking swear to you, it's in there. So that the zombie aspect was still brilliant. it definitely wasn't as many zombies as there were within Train to Busan. Obviously, they're just sort of roaming around now. They're still blind at night. Light is what attracts them, and sound. The standard zombie thing. And, you know, you get a few scenes where they are prominent, but they're more of a... I guess you could say they're more of an annoyance throughout this movie. So they're not the driving factor to any part of this movie other than trying to get off or get out of Korea now and move to somewhere else that's safe. Mainly being Hong Kong is the safe zone for the closest place for them. So the zombies are definitely portrayed as more of an annoyance throughout. They're not a direct threat. They're just sort of like a block, like a blockade, where there's certain places they can go, certain places they can't go because there's a wall of zombies, we can't drive through them. It's too many. The only the real use is more in the sort of fighting pit that this group have when they put people in there to survive against a bunch of zombies. And then after that, it's really just, you know, a couple chase scenes in the car of the zombies, but nothing else that's sort of going to sit there and make you know that they're the main thread of this movie. Which is why this sort of brings out this movie as more than just a zombie movie. There's a story behind it that doesn't rely on the zombies. And it's more so just escaping. So take with this how you will. How I've just described this non-spoiler part for you. That's probably as most as I can tell you non-spoilers before I start having to dive into this now to really show you and tell you what parts I really did enjoy, what parts I didn't. So, but my main consensus now is just it was a very good movie. It was definitely a great movie. I want to see it again, 100% hands down. Mainly so I can see the first 3 minutes. Yeah. But I definitely will see this movie again. It was worth watching again. It is worth being part of this Train to Busan franchise. And I'm very happy that it did come... Well, it did happen the way it did, and it did still get shown. I'm happy with what I got in this movie. I'm very happy with what I got in this movie. So, let's just dive in now to some more spoilers in this movie. So, if you don't want to know anything else that happens in this movie, please turn this off now. Come back again once you see it a couple months down the track. I don't fucking know. At least you watched up to this part. I'm trying to make this shorter for you. So, spoiler-wise, this movie is just escaping, and people escape. People die. There is loss. There is sadness, and there's more shit that kind of doesn't make sense. So, basically, the main guy in this movie goes across to Korea on the mission of retrieving this money with 3 other people and bring it back to this American, I don't know, warlord, gang lord, fucking something, and they'll split the money. You know, that's a standard bad guy thing. So you're sort of like, okay, we're getting a zombie heist movie. Is that the premise of this movie? It's a zombie heist movie. Going into zombie territory to retrieve a bunch of money, bring it back, and wash our hands. Good night. Weird from the start. It's a weird, very weird premise from the start. So as it dives into the movie and we get them going across there in the dead of night, finding this truck to retrieve the money, and we get that, and then as soon as they find the money and they're driven off by some younger looking children driving a car and setting a bunch of zombies on them. And seems a bit weird how that progresses, but it all comes around by the end of it. One of the other guys with the main chap locks himself into the back of the truck. Think of like a moving truck. It's something like that. So he locks himself in the back of there. The other 2 people die, eaten by zombies and shit, and the main guy is carried away by these 2 girls, driven away into their little lockdown area, where we meet their grandfather and their mother, who, this is where our first flashback comes into it, where we sort of understood what happened at the start of this movie. And we learned that the start of the movie was as they're fleeing Korea and being transported out, seeking refuge over in Hong Kong, and that her and her younger daughters back then begging, well, she was begging for anyone to take their daughter out of the country, get her out, and she's saying 31 cars drove past, and he was one of them, and I was like, oh, okay, there's the start of the movie that I missed. So these people know each other. Well, he does at least. She doesn't remember thus far. And then we introduced to the rogue leaders, I guess, of the city. I believe it's Unit 631, something like that. Just a group of bandits, basically. They have their own little campsite in the middle of town. They basically run everything, whatever's left, and have a system set. They have the game of having a bunch of remaining survivors and placing bets on who can survive 2 minutes the longest in a pit full of zombies. And yeah, his friend that does lock himself in the back of the truck is captured by them as they take the truck, bring it back because they're obviously finding shit to survive on, and he gets put in the game and he's trying to survive himself in this. Then the only other characters then is the sergeant of this group, who seems a bit crazy and off the rails. The main, I guess, leader of the camp. He basically looks like Steve Harrington from Stranger Things if he was Korean. The hair is exactly the same, and this guy just seems very suicidal apparently, because the first time we meet him, he's drinking and puts his face on a poster of a girl's boobs, says he's leaving, and then puts a gun in his mouth. And just about to blow his brains out, and one of his little right-hand man comes in and starts talking whatever rubbish and that. Really the only other characters that we get introduced to in this movie. The only ones really worth noting. So the idea is trying to get this money, get off the island, now with this woman, her two daughters, and the grandfather. And yeah, it's all just I guess it's a mess in a way, in trying to figure out how this movie now progresses through the story. And it's now more of a rescue mission. Well, actually, no, sorry, it's not a rescue mission thus far because he's unaware that his friend is still alive. Now it's just about getting the money and the satellite phone to get off the island and come back safe and sound. Movie progresses, and the main leader of the camp finds the money in the back of the truck and a satellite phone, starts devising his own plans to get out of here, leaving the main sergeant, the crazy one, behind, because he doesn't want to know what's going on, because he's crazy and will probably kill him. And there's some funny, slapstick comedy throughout this. Not a great much to it, but there are little comedic moments in here that, give that little extra oomph to this movie, where you sort of go, here, have a laugh. Go on. Gave you a couple jump scares, now have a laugh. And yeah, so there's not a great deal else to sort of put in between the movie other than a couple car chases, some very Fast and Furious style car chases involving zombies. So take with that as you will. Yeah, the whole rest of the movie is then just getting his friend out, who unfortunately does die as they're trying to escape. It's a very sad moment. Anytime someone of decent character dies in this movie, they really get a good emotional send out. Like they drag it on. So it's all slow mo. It's all piano-ish music behind it. The other guy screaming out, crying, whatever, and then a vengeful warpath ensues. He suddenly becomes John Wick and no one can kill him. Escapes out of there and away we go. So we'll just jump straight to the end of the movie, because everything in between is just sort of, you just watch it and it just unfolds as it is. The ending comes through. The main guy, the woman, her 2 daughters, and the grandpa. They've got the truck, they've got the money, they've called in the outside people to say, hey, we're coming to the port now, get the boat ready, we've got the money, we'll be there in 15 minutes, whatever. Still being chased by everyone else. We get, by the end of it, the main leader of the camp, as the 2 cars are driving away, and they think they're all well and safe now, get T-boned. The main leader of the camp comes out, takes one of the girls, takes the truck, fucks off down there. He's going to be the hero now. And the grandpa dies. Another emotional send-off for him as he's protecting the younger daughter. As he said in the movie that he will always protect them until they get off this hell. And he did that, sacrificed himself to protect her, gets shot, starts to die out. So the main guy's driving the truck down. He's thinking he's going to be off the island. He's all good. Loads it up onto the dock. They check the money's all there. And like, oh, you're a new guy. Seems to be always changing, but, you know, whatever. Here you are. We're all good. And then they shoot him. And you kind of saw it coming by the end of it. When this was happening, you're like, well, surely this is going to only end one way. And it's going to be with him dying. And he did. So it was always going to be a double cross from the start. They were always going to be set up to fail. Even if they did come back with the money, they were never going to get a share of it. They were just going to die. Off they go. And then they throw in a quick little curveball, and as he's been shot and dying, manages with his final breath to shift the truck into reverse and send it off the back of the boat. No money for anyone. But then the zombies all come in and they start fucking everyone up on the boat, so everyone's fucked. Until we see a rescue helicopter come as everyone's crying about the grandpa dying, living his final breaths and saying to get them out of here, and, you know, I promised and I tried and all this and whatnot else, and they're all crying, grandpa, don't go, don't die. This is when the emotion starts to kick in as you're watching it unfold. Very sad piano music behind again. It's all heartfelt. The girls are crying their eyes out. Very heartfelt, very emotional. And then we see the rescue helicopter come in, and they see that it is Jane. Now, Jane is a character in this movie where the grandpa's talking to one of the little radio type phones, speaking to her, trying to get her to come and get them out of this island. And that comes around, and the guy's like, oh my god, it's Jane, yes, it's her. Their mum has been shot in the leg, though, in the process, so she's sort of leaving behind. They leave behind the grandpa, let him die out, and it is up to now the main guy to make sure the girls get to this helicopter as the zombies are coming. She would try and hold them off, because he does reveal to her eventually that he did drive away from them initially during the extraction of everyone from Korea after the original infection happened. And she's like, you're now indebted to my girls, it's up to you to make sure that they survive this. So he makes sure they get to the chopper as she starts clearing off the zombie horde so they can get through nice and easy. She locks herself into a truck, and this is where another heartfelt moment comes. They're all crying out, they've got to go get their mum, they can't leave her there. They're saying, you can't go, it's too dangerous. The older daughter pulls out a gun on them saying, you can't fucking leave, we have to go get her. As the mum then turns the gun on herself, she's got it loaded up, and they're sort of like crying out, you know, don't do it. And then we get the flashbacks again of the main guy who let his sister die to a zombie and didn't do anything, and his brother-in-law saying, you just gave up, you didn't do anything, you just let it happen. And he sort of just snaps and goes, fuck it, I'm gonna go get her. Starts running, goes, gets her, clears her out, and gets her back to the chopper. It's all, you know, actiony, escaping from these zombies, a lot of shooting, a lot of punching, a lot of using old cars to stop the zombies from coming so fast. They get everyone on board, and that's it. That's it. Movie's done. Everyone's okay. Mum's okay. Daughters are okay. He's okay. And we ride off into the sunset of the peninsula. So, overall, a fucking brilliant movie. They smashed it out of the park. Well, they kept it in the park, but it was a fucking great zombie movie, without a doubt. And despite the slight inconvenience of missing the first 3 minutes of the movie, eventually clicked onto what it was anyway, so it didn't really matter too much. We move on, and now we just wait for Tenet, because that's coming next, and Jack will be back for that. Because we've had a very big day today as well. At the time of recording this, DC fandom has happened. A lot has been revealed. Some new The Batman footage. We got the first trailer for The Batman. Zack Snyder. His Justice League is 4 hours long. Among other things, where I think I'll bring you a recap video for anyone who didn't catch any of the news. I might bring you a quick recap video explaining everything that happened, what got announced, what can we expect from DC in the future. I, for one, am very fucking excited for the future of DC, and I never thought I'd hear myself say that. So I hope they don't let me down, because what's coming is looking incredible. So with that, we'll end Peninsula here. It is a great movie. I'd give it an 8 out of 10, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. It's not better than Train to Busan. Train to Busan is still the best zombie movie of all time. Peninsula is up there in the top, let's say top 6. Don't try to get me to name the other ones, because I couldn't do that. But it's in there with them, whatever else there may be. So if you have a chance to ever see Peninsula, it comes out on DVD or on streaming platforms, please do watch it. You don't need to watch Train to Busan to understand it, but I'd suggest watching Train to Busan regardless of anything. Just watch that movie. It is fucking worth the watch. And then that's about it. You guys can just like, favorite, share, subscribe, follow us on the gram, which is that one there, as I'm looking at it, at You Like That Podcast. All our socials will be in the links below of the YouTube video and on the Anchor and Spotify descriptions. There'll be a link tree to all our socials that you can find us on. Yeah. I'll see you in the next couple of days. And then we'll see you next week for Tenet with Jackie. We'll be returning for that one because we've spoken about it so much. He's not going to miss it for the world. So, until then, thank you all for listening. My name is Adam. I have been one half of the You Like That podcast. I appreciate you, because I will always be Adam, and you will always be my favorite people in the world. Talk to you later.